Branch was constant: civil engineering, civil engineering, civil engineering. Imagine the campus for a moment there. Think of it as a pond. You are like a frog in a well, or a frog in a pond, right? You're surrounded by people of your own age group. There is faculty, they may or may not be interested in interacting with you.
Hello everyone. So today we have a very special guest with us. His name is Aravind. So he is currently doing his final year in BITS Transportation and also interning with Atkins. So the main idea behind this video is we also get a lot of requests like, okay, how to do internships or how to build our profile. It's very important for like to land any job. The skill set is very important. Also how to develop that skill set. Okay, I know I have to do internship, like how to get there. So that's what we will learn from a very budding civil engineer, or we can maybe call him transportation engineer right now. That's totally up to him how he wants to call. Hi, Arvind.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and thanks for inviting me for this session.
I forgot to tell one more thing. So he was actually one of our first students when we started out APCD. Probably joined in 2018, right?
Yeah, in my final year, yes. I had bought the coaching material of another institution.
Okay.
So I had it, but then again, studying through those books is not very efficient. It is doable.
Yes.
But when you are handling semester coursework and you're getting gate preparation as well, then you need to be very efficient with your time.
Obviously, it saves you a bit of time rather than going cover to cover.
So that really, that the online coaching part really helped me with that. Right. So apart from the solving the problem of the physical sort of barrier there, it also helped, during my coursework as well, and helped me manage my time much more efficiently.
Okay.
So that was the reason that I got into APSAT.
I see that you had actually done a lot of internships. So were you like fixed from the very like first year or second year of college itself? Okay, this is what is my path. Like, how did you actually go about things? Like, you can tell a bit about your background, what you did in BTech.
Yeah, so I actually come from a family which has been serving the government in the public sector since 3-4 generations. Non-technical, but still the government public sector.
Okay.
So in that sense, my father works for the State Police Housing Welfare Corporation. So that's the residential and building and structural side of things. So that's where I had some exposure. That was my first internship there, and obviously
sorry to
they give
interrupt.
preference. Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, so when we are in second year, like a lot of us would actually think, okay, should we even do an internship, or there'll be some sort of mind block, or should we even do, even if there are references, okay, there is a building right now where someone is a part of it, it's possible to get there, but you still like that thinking may not be aligned. So, I mean, were you aligned or someone told you to do this? Like, how did you like even think that, okay, this is what I will do the first internship?
Okay, so the thing is, when I got into my first year in VSSUT, the thing was we had a very good alumni network, and we usually network very well. And our seniors are typically just a phone call away. You just need to contact them, and you can chat with them as if they're friendly. There's not a lot of formality involved there, no matter the seniority, right? And so that really helped in setting. Right, the getting to know the industry, talking with people, in the public sector, in the private sector, in India, outside India, so to speak. So the thing is, the impression that I got was that we need to be very skill oriented, and since it's a government institution, it does not really focus much on the skills side. It focuses in like pushing or nudging people towards higher education. Right.
Okay.
You are in one of the best universities in the state. You go get a master's degree, then you do your PhD, and then you go join as a faculty somewhere. Right. So that's the sort of environment in the university. Right?
Okay.
Or you join the government because our institution was set up for the dam.
Okay, right? So they are mostly aligned towards those thoughts. Okay.
Yeah, academia or you join the public sector, the
Mm-hmm.
PWD, the irrigation department, or
Mm-hmm.
the central services, or civil
Okay.
services,
Mm-hmm.
engineering services, so on and so forth. Right?
Okay.
Public sector and academia, these are the two sort of thrust areas, you could say, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of
Okay.
the environment in our campus. So the
Mm-hmm.
civil engineering department, along with the mechanical and electrical engineering department, is the three oldest department in the university.
Right.
So that sort of pedigree was there, and always civil engineering students in Burla in their orientation here that the majority of the chief engineers of all the government departments in the state are graduates of VSSUT.
You have that pride.
Okay, yeah, we have that pride, and we have that pedigree with us.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the thrust area in terms of career paths. So
Mm-hmm.
academia, or so to speak, the public sector. you
Okay.
know, a catch-all
Mm-hmm.
phrase for state government and central
Mm-hmm.
government services,
Okay.
technical, non-technical, everything. So that was the thrust area. And as I got to interact with more people who are working in the private sector, so
Mm-hmm.
I sort of have I mean, you could say a soft point towards the private sector, that I have a hygiene factor that I don't want to work for the government,
Okay.
because I come from a family of government servants.
Okay.
I've seen the government from very closely, so I believe that
Mm-hmm.
no, I'll do something different and I'll go join the private sector.
Very different
Okay.
from probably a lot of students think that all of them, like many, I think, want to get into the government sector.
Yeah, and so in that way, like my mother worked in various civil engineering consultancies in the
Okay.
private
Mm-hmm.
sector.
Mm-hmm.
Again, non-technical, mostly secretarial and office manager
Mm-hmm.
roles.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So she had worked in various civil engineering consultancies in
Okay.
mostly highway execution projects.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So these consultancies are hired as the representative of the government there, the
Mm-hmm.
government
Okay.
PWD there,
Mm-hmm.
as the authorities engineer or independent engineer, as they call it in that
Okay.
jargon.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that exposure was there. So sometimes during school, I would bunk Saturdays and go to our office and tag along with surveyors and go to the site. And they would say that,
Okay.
chalo, we'll just count the trees on the side. And that's actually one of the things that is done in highways, because you count the number of
Okay.
hazards on the roadside so
Uh-huh.
that you can provide crash barriers. So it
Okay.
might sound very simple and stupid, but it's very important
Mm-hmm.
as part of the highway design process and
Mm-hmm.
construction process.
I see that they always paint these trees and all. I think it's a part of all this, right? For
Yes, so
safety
that
aspects.
they're visible during the night.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have even started putting retro reflective tapes around the trunk,
Okay. Okay.
so
I
they're more
earlier used
visible.
to wonder why they were numbered. Now I'm getting to know probably they just count them and they number it along.
No. These are roadside hazards. The trees themselves are hazards. Even the crash barriers themselves are hazards. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a trade-off there.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, you don't want the vehicle to actually go off the carriageway and fall somewhere or hit a tree
Mm-hmm.
trunk, or a
Yeah.
light pole or something. You want that crash barrier to work and or deflect the car or vehicle back onto the carriageway itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why. So you could say it's a trade-off. There are risks, but it's a trade-off.
Correct.
Keep the vehicle safe and occupants safe.
So you got exposure like very early on, I think, like working, like seeing, okay, what is on the field rather than, okay, just going textbook.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it technical exposure, but you could say I could see what is the life and what is the behind the scenes sort of scenario
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in these projects. And so you could say I had a big picture in my mind that, okay,
Okay.
this is how a highway project is
Okay.
working.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Mm-hmm.
people all over India. You also have, at that point in time,
Mm-hmm.
when the NHDP project was launched.
Right.
So at that time, we did not have many experienced engineers. So most of
Mm-hmm.
the experienced engineers, came from various different countries: Australia,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Europe,
Mm-hmm.
America. So they
Mm-hmm.
had foreign engineers as well, and also
Mm-hmm.
in the domestic team, we had people from various different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
highways team is like a cross section of India. Right? You have people from many different areas
Okay.
coming in and
Mm-hmm.
joining and working.
Okay.
So apart from that, I had that exposure. I mean, now after so many World Bank funded projects, Indian civil
Mm-hmm.
engineers are now working in Southeast Asia, in
Okay.
Africa, in these
Mm-hmm.
bank funded projects like World Bank,
Mm-hmm.
Asian Development Bank, and other international funding agencies like JICA and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So, that sort of a broad, big picture in my mind, I had it.
Okay.
And I knew
Mm-hmm.
that I will be working mostly in highways and transportation. So briefly, I did consider going into project management as well, but project management is a niche in itself. So there's no guarantee that you will work in highways and transportation after specializing in project management. You may go into the oil and gas sector, you may go into the real estate sector. So it's like an open field which is applicable anywhere, right? Even sometimes into software or IT as well.
So I assume you chose civil engineering then by choice, like you preferred
by
it.
choice. So
Right.
when I had the counseling session for my BTech, admissions, so the only thing changed was the institutes. Okay. In the
But your
preference
path
list.
was set. Okay, I'm going to be a highways or a transportation engineer.
Yeah, the branch was constant: civil engineering, civil engineering, civil engineering. There were 10 preferences, 8 or 10 preferences. So on the first 4, I had kept the government colleges there in the first 4, and then some of the older reputed private colleges in my own state.
Okay.
And that's how I kept it, and the branch was constant. And because my mother worked in these civil engineering consultancies, she kind of knew where the industry is going in terms of hiring patterns. So she had kept that at said that to me, that look, if you're going into civil engineering, you have to specialize. So what happens is, in these highway projects, when there's a technical bit, there's a financial bit, right? So in the technical bit, the consultancy submit the CVs of experts who will be, or key personnel or experienced personnel.
Right.
So in that case, when the CVs are scrutinized, there are extra points if they have a master's degree. There are extra points if they
for
have
experience, and they have points
experience.
Right.
Yeah. So if it's a World Bank funded project, there will be extra points if they have experience in World Bank projects previously, if they worked on it. And there will be also criteria based on project value. What was the project value? That this many $1 million or so and so forth.
Okay. So you're pretty much set to, sorry to interrupt. So you're pretty much set to specialize, like probably in your first, second year itself, you're pretty much set, okay, this is what I'm going to specialize in, is it?
Yeah, even before entering BTech. So my mother had said that if you are going down that path, so there was no pressure from the family, and they were mostly the attitude was that, look, we want you to be happy, we want you to be financially independent, and we want you to lead a happy life and be satisfied with your professional life, right? So they said that if this is the path that you want to go down, then this is the information that we are giving you, this is what things you need to have to do in the future, so be mentally prepared. Right. So I went in with the BTech with the attitude that yes, I will be specializing. So then I was interested in highways and bridges. So the two like top candidate specializations were structural engineering and transportation engineering. And by the end of the BTech, by the time I saw, again, thanks to the profession of my parents, I could have sort of a window into the industry, right? So I saw that,
so you got to work early on, is it? Through these internships, did you get some sort of exposure? I see you've done a lot of internship throughout even your BTech.
Yes. So first was, of course, in Odisha Police Housing and Welfare Corporation, and therein I worked on the Mahila and Shishu desk, which is there in police stations, specifically for women and children. Right. So there was one particular separate building for that in each police stations. So I worked on the estimates for that and drawings for that. Very basic stuff. But at least having that exposure is also important, because then you get to explore the work environment, the work culture.
Yes, that's correct. You might have also learned a thing or two, right? How the work, how actually things are going around.
Yeah. So we actually understand that, how these things are actually applied on the field. That sounds like a cliche, but then again, when you go and work on a project, you gain that confidence as well. Yeah, I know how it's done, not just
Obviously, you can always read how it is done. Then that's different from actually doing it.
Yeah, you can read about it, but that confidence that comes from practical experience is that you then have you gel in with that professional world, right? You are no longer speaking in bookish terms and jargon, and trying to impress people by using complicated terms or something like that. People do that. Even I did that as a student.
So did you get to work on a project or something like that in the first?
That project was actually at the near of its completion, right? It was, the project handover was about to take place. But there were still deliverables always that need to be going during this project handovers, drawings, estimates. So I was doing that drawings and estimates part.
Okay.
So you could say that it's a completed project, but I had like got into that at a very late stage. The work
Yeah.
is mostly done. The project handover is going on. They are like
Okay.
submitting all documents and
It's
technical
mostly in
drawings and
AutoCAD, right?
estimates.
AutoCAD they would have used.
AutoCAD and estimation and MS Excel, the two basic
Right.
things in civil engineering.
Right.
So those two I got to
Okay.
learn in my first internship.
Okay, so you actually learned hands-on, or you had a course or something of those sorts in college?
No. So we didn't have any courses regarding that. I mean, we were taught engineering drawing using the drafter and pencil, not AutoCAD. So state government
That's
college. So
no.
you could say, and
Even we had a namesake. Even I had done my BTech in NIT. We had just a namesake AutoCAD. At the end, I just knew to draw that 4 lines. Probably I was done with that.
we didn't even have that. So you guys were luckier than us. But yeah, I mean, in the age, that was also the time of YouTube, right? If you have, and you can apply for an educational license from Autodesk, and you can download the software for free, student version.
Yeah,
And if
student.
you have YouTube, right?
Actually,
So
there is a
I mean,
perception, right?
it was
So there
not
is
a
a
difficult to
perception.
learn.
Actually, there is a perception. Like there's a perception that okay, if I have to learn something, okay, I have to go to some particular institute, or like then go learn it, spend some money on that particular coaching, and I'll get a certificate. So that's the traditional mindset. So I mean, like I think you had actually learned probably hands-on, right? During what do you think about it?
So I believe that you can experiment with yourself. I mean, with the different material that's available out there for free. I mean, of course, having a certification helps in boosting your CV or your resume during that filtering process when during placements. But I would say practical experience is always valued by the industry more than any certification, right? Everybody, I mean,
Yes.
if they have applications, many people will be 9 pointers, many people will be 8 pointers. Again, a huge proportion of them will have some certifications. But that differentiating factor is the practical experience in the internship.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you can
That's
say
pretty much
proudly
right.
that I have worked in the industry, however briefly, or it might be however basic the work might be. But you
And
can say
also,
that,
obviously, you would have learned the software itself, right? You would have obviously learned on the go about AutoCAD, and or at least the basics you would have gone through when you had done the project. I
yeah,
assume.
this wasn't anything 3D modeling or anything. It was just 2D drafting. So whatever I'd learned in EG, I was doing that,
Right.
in a computerized way. That's it. So it
Okay.
wasn't much of a big learning curve, which, I had to face. It was very easy.
Okay.
And you could always learn from the CAD technicians there. And for small things, you can just look it up on
There's
YouTube.
always someone to like. I
Learn it.
mean, we don't get stuck at least.
Yeah. So, and that also is a good thing because the person who is working there has experience, professional experience, and he's not just a trainer, as in a training institute or a coaching institute. So, in training institutes, what happens is they are taught that we have to teach this much only to the students, right? This is the fixed
That's a
pattern. This is the
framework.
fixed. That's the framework that they have to follow, and they teach that much, and they might even give you some specimen designs, and they say that you can explore it. But what happens when you're working in an internship is that there is no upper limit there like that. So if you are working, if you are curious, you can of course learn from them, and you can ask them for more work, and you don't have that upper limit. You can go higher if you want, right? So you're not limited by that. So I would say that that's the biggest advantage. In comparison, if you say internship versus training institute certification, I would say that certification is no doubt important. Okay, it helps. Uh, but so it is only a substitute for the internship, I would say, or a substitute for the practical experience. It cannot replace that. Okay. Even after you have that certification, if you go somewhere, they will again have to teach you some of the workflow that they follow there in their company or in that firm. So there will again be a learning curve there.
Right.
But so why not do it in the first place? And the thing is that even if somebody does not have a reference, It's always a good habit to network with alumni who might be working in the public sector or in the private sector. So what happens is that these public sector firms advertise for internships, but it's basically one PDF uploaded on the website. It does not come on LinkedIn. It does not come on any other sites for internships or anywhere else, or job listings or job postings. It does not show up there. So I would say that networking goes a long way, so that you can be in touch with alumni and they can inform you of any such opportunities during the summer term, right? Even in parliament, you can do an internship there by being an assistant to some MP or an MLA. Even I didn't know that, but that's possible.
I think the biggest takeaway is getting that exposure. I mean, not just exposure, like you're networking with different people, then only you get to know, okay, such a thing is even there.
Yeah, if you don't network with people, I mean, imagine the campus for a moment there. Think of it as a pond. You are like a frog in a well, or a frog in a pond, right? You're surrounded by people of your own age group. There is faculty, they may or may not be interested in interacting with you, right? And your seniors who are there, they haven't seen the professional world out there. They may have done 1 or 2 internships, even probably not that. They might have done some certification. So it's better to interact with alumni, and there's no harm in being polite and courteous, right? Be polite, approach them and speak to them. They're not monsters who will eat you for contacting.
Now that communication has become so easier, like even after that, like some people or many of us are like hesitant even to send out a text. Okay, just like you can keep in touch with different people. It helps like in your professional career.
So you could say that I have a shameless attitude. I just ask people for their time, and I say I won't take more than 15 minutes. I saw it through your profile, and I wanted to speak to you about some things which I want to do related to that. Yes, simple. Don't waste their time.
Good.
Don't need to.
Yeah, if they're not interested, just move on. Go to the next person.
Yeah. I also had that one line that if you are uninterested, please ignore this. Okay, and most people do ignore it.
No, it's always that 1%. Also, if you get 1 out of 100, that's a starting point. Like a lot of us find that starting point is very difficult, even to land on an internship. Okay, first step is networking. Where do I start? Like, I don't know. What should I do? Should I start a LinkedIn?
So many people think that in the very first communication itself, or the very first request that they send out, they will get all the information. That's never the case. So networking, I would say, is a continuous process, and you can always network through various sort of channels. One is the alumni association of your own institution. Right. So they may hold alumni meets. They may come for guest talks, guest lectures, or something like that can be arranged in different universities. Right. Again, different universities do it at a different level. Yeah, that's an open-ended thing. Yes. Secondly, there's of course LinkedIn, which is mostly a networking site. People don't realize that. People think that LinkedIn is a job portal. It's not. It's a networking site which happens to be a job portal. Okay, so that's the important key thing to remember here. And I would say that networking goes a long way. Being polite costs nothing. Sending out a message on LinkedIn or sending out an email costs nothing. Right. So, right. And one single person will not give you all the information, or you will not sort of get a prescription from them. Like, do this and you will get this. So
yeah, they're not going to they're not going to handhold you. I mean, you have to seek what you're looking for, probably.
Yeah, and then there's sometimes like a bias inbuilt there as well. So you have to identify the bias and take in the information only. So people in the public sector will advise that don't go to the private sector. So if you ask someone like me, I'll say don't go to the public sector. The private sector is much better. Right. So there will be some biases, there will be some preferences. So it's always important to listen to both sides. And then based on your own preferences and priorities, make a decision.
Right. Yes.
And the main thing is that to remove that information asymmetry. You are a junior, you just left school and joined engineering. Your source of information might be your parents, colleagues, or your neighbors, or your own relatives, right? So that's not always everybody's, everybody does not have that privilege, right? So, when you join an institution, you inherit the institution's culture and the alumni network of that institution. Right. So it's always best to capitalize on that.
Right. I also see that like you have done more internships. I think you just did not stop with that police department. I think you went on further ahead, I guess, like to do more internships.
Yeah, the second internship was in the firm that my mother works in, and that's Lee Associates South Asia.
Okay.
So that's in the payment management system project. So it was the Assam Road
Okay.
Asset Management System. So
Okay.
after the road network is built, the government also needs to spend money to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
So the government would want the best value for money out of
Mm-hmm.
the limited funds that it has from the
Mm-hmm.
public
Mm-hmm.
kitty or the taxpayers' money. So asset management system basically helps in maintaining that road network and getting the
Okay.
most out of your limited maintenance funds for the
Mm-hmm.
the agency which handles or is responsible for maintaining this road network.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this is mostly related to GIS and collecting traffic and inventory data of the pavement, like
Mm-hmm.
what
Okay.
is the condition of the pavement and
Mm-hmm.
what is the traffic condition there? Is it an accident prone location?
Okay.
And so on and so forth. What is the
Okay.
condition of a bridge?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the amount of treatment that needs to be done to a damaged,
Okay.
deteriorated section?
Did you work on any of these aspects? Like, is there any particular aspect you worked on, or how was it?
So this was kind of a interdisciplinary project, right? There's an
Mm-hmm.
IT team, there's a GIS team, and there's the
Mm-hmm.
technical team.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, you could say that I explored on the technical side. So it was mostly data collection that I
Mm-hmm.
needed to sort of look after, and we were, I mean, by the it was only a 1 month internship, slightly more than 1 month, and
Okay.
majority of that was spent on actually understanding what data is collected, why is it
Mm-hmm.
collected, how is it
Mm-hmm.
analyzed,
Okay.
and how it is fed into the asset management system
Mm-hmm.
that they have.
Okay.
There are again
Mm-hmm.
subsystems within it, one
Mm-hmm.
for traffic signs, one for bridges, one for pavement, one
Okay.
for road safety,
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth. Many different facets are there. And then understanding what it does with that information and what does it give out, right? What is the output of that system, how to interpret it. So that was mostly high level sort of an exposure. So you could say that it is mostly theoretical, and it's mostly on the side of analysis. So it's kind of the cross intersection of planning and payment engineering and
Okay.
highway engineering,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
right? So it was an interdisciplinary sort of project,
Mm-hmm.
and there was the IT side of it as well. Of course, I was not prepared to be involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, nevertheless, it was a very good exposure, and it helped me understand that okay, it's not the story is not over after designing and constructing the road. You also need to
Maintain it.
maintain it, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot that goes into deciding which road gets the highest priority.
Right.
Where do the funds go? What data do we
Mm-hmm.
collect? So they had
Mm-hmm.
this network survey vehicle which goes and scans the payment surface, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, and takes a picture of the payment cross section ahead of it. And
Okay.
whatever payment condition rating is done through
Mm-hmm.
the data collected using this network survey vehicle. So this vehicle
Okay.
goes all around the road network that is the agency is responsible for,
Mm-hmm.
collects the data. And then there was also the training aspect, because the consultancy will develop the system. It also
Mm-hmm.
needs to train the PWD engineers to actually use it. How
Okay.
so they will be the long-term users of this system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there was a training aspect as well, and there are some of the things that I knew, like I knew how to operate a total station.
Okay.
So in that one brief training which the consultancy was giving to the PWD, Assam PWD engineers, I was involved in the practical part.
Mm-hmm.
How to, like the basics, how to
Okay.
set up a total station at
Mm-hmm.
a station, and how do you measure the different things there, how to check that it's working properly or not, and basically the inner workings of a total station, what is the basic principle, how it works,
Mm-hmm.
so all of that. So that
Right.
one part was also uh, the part of the internship there.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could say it was a mixed experience. It was not overly technical, it was not overly superficial as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a exposure to different parts of that particular
Mm-hmm.
project. So again, here again, there were people from other universities as well. From NIT Agartala, IIT Guwahati, and from Odisha there was KIT University. A few students were there from here
Okay.
as well, apart from me.
Okay. So was
So
there any sorry to interrupt. So was there any set process like, okay, this is how they are taking interns, or did they release some sort of like like?
see, set process wise, as I said, if they start advertising for the internships or jobs, the problem
Mm-hmm.
is that they'll be flooded with CVs and they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to go through that process just for an
Okay.
internship which will
Mm-hmm.
last 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, as I said, these internships are not advertised. You get one notification on the website,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps that if you follow these companies or again get in touch with someone working there through your alumni network
Mm-hmm.
or your LinkedIn network, so that if there are any opportunities popping up, they can inform you that okay, there is this opportunity, please apply. Okay,
Right. So we
many
have to be on
people
the
just,
lookout. So we have to be on the
yeah,
lookout
you
through
have to be
all
on the
means possible.
lookout.
Through all means possible, not just okay, I'll wait for something to pop up on LinkedIn or somewhere.
Yeah. So the thing is, again, this is something which is sector specific. So maybe like in software, maybe you can go to their hiring page and you can email them and you
Mm-hmm.
can probably get an offer for an internship. But that's not the
Mm-hmm.
case with civil engineering companies. So it's always good to have someone as a reference there, preferably
Mm-hmm.
through your alumni
Right.
and your family members, relatives, neighbors, your
Mm-hmm.
faculty. Even your faculty will have their own previous students who are working in these private firms. So
Right.
even you can approach them through that. And as I said, the same case with alumni, it's also the case with faculty.
Mm-hmm.
It costs nothing to be polite. You can also, there are also like government funded projects that are given, research projects to a given university.
Right.
So anybody could go out there and approach them for volunteer for these projects. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other part. So it's not always that one has to go into the private sector or the
Mm-hmm.
public sector. One can also approach the faculty members of the university,
Yeah.
ask them for what funded projects they're working on, volunteer for these projects, and even that is a enriching experience.
I also had a similar experience. So in IIT Bombay, so there was a mandated like you have to do the mandatory thesis, and I think it's called dissertation, or whatever it's called. So I also wanted to work on some projects like real projects. So because you're an institute, you can't go out and do like full-fledged internship. There was not much time. Okay, so at that time only I got to know, okay, like funded projects come to colleges. So luckily, so there were some metro related projects which came, which talks about okay, like whole plan ridership and all those planning aspects. So I actually
I
got to
think
work
that
on
was for Thane City, right? I saw it
uh,
on your profile.
right, right. I don't remember it exactly now. There was one on Pune as well, but I think I worked on the one on Navi Mumbai and Thane, I think. Yeah. So I
Okay.
actually got to work on such like real projects, had interaction with like different consultancy agencies, and that's how I actually landed up on my first job as well through those contacts. It actually helps. I mean, if not the usual way, even the faculties are going to help. It doesn't hurt to ask, obviously. Like we're just going to
Yeah.
volunteer. Yeah.
So the thing is to be curious and be interested and be observing what's going on in one's
Mm.
department and again be in touch with alumni so that whatever is that they're working on, at least you can get the information that okay, these opportunities to exist. That
Mm.
itself is valuable information. Whether or not you land an internship or you get to work on a project, that's a separate
Right.
thing. That's like a
Hmm.
bonus. But the information itself is a big a valuable commodity in itself.
Right.
That okay, these are the different things that are going
Hmm.
on in the public sector. One usually thinks that once you join the PWD, most of the work is done by designers. The other contractor constructs it, designer designs it, project management consultant manages it. So what does the PWD do? It mostly deals with bills, clearances, and all those things, right?
Hmm.
But no, they also have their own design department, and they might have some internal criteria that if somebody is interested in design,
Hmm.
and they can also work in the public sector and do design of various infrastructure.
Hmm.
So there might be some internal criteria there for allotting one particular candidate to the design department. So you can also get some information about these internal criteria, which one might not find publicly anywhere on
Right.
the website.
Hmm.
And some public sector companies also want master's degrees. They might
Okay.
not be sort of be able to tell it on the notification, but
Hmm.
they might consider the master's degree as a desirable sort of qualification
It might give you
for
an
a
edge over
candidate.
others. Hmm.
Yeah. So, for example, if you are applying for NHAI and you have a master's degree in highway engineering or transmission
Hmm.
engineering, that sort of differentiates you by a long way from the other candidates who just have a BTech.
So that way, I assume it takes time. Like even to land on an internship, it's like just like how you are going to prepare for GATE, you're going to dedicate some time. I think like doing an internship before that, whatever work you put to land on that, I think it takes time. It's not like okay,
Of course,
I'll
of
get it.
course. So
Yeah.
I had started applying for the internship, and it was not set that I will get it. Right.
Hmm.
So I had also had to apply for two, three other locations through my alumni network.
Hmm.
Whoever
Okay.
I knew, they had sort of informed me of opportunities, so I had
Hmm.
applied to them. So this takes time, the processing of that
Hmm.
internship application, and then there might be an interview. There,
Hmm.
they might take some time to inform you that even that you're rejected. So even
Hmm.
that time needs to be factored in
Okay.
after the application. So this I had started during January, and by the time of March and April, I had the
Hmm.
clarity that where I will be doing my internship. And
Okay.
in,
So yeah.
let's say, mid-May to mid-June
Hmm.
is the 1 month period when I did both of the
Okay.
internships
Hmm.
in the respective summer vacations after my
Okay.
exams.
Hmm. So, like, did you allot some like time every day? Like, how did you even go about it? Is it like, okay, I'm studying 1 hour like that? Did you allocate, okay, today I'll do this, like tomorrow I'll contact this person? Did you set out some sort of plan? Like, how did you even go about all these things?
I would say the best place to start is LinkedIn. So obviously there you will have suggestions for your connection, whom
Mm-hmm.
to connect with
Mm-hmm.
on the basis of, you will be adding your education details and you'll be
Mm-hmm.
adding your internship details.
Right.
So it usually says that these are your university alumni and these are your
Mm-hmm.
company alumni who are
Mm-hmm.
working here, or these are the such
Mm-hmm.
people you should connect with. So that's a starting point. After that, you can go through someone's profile, right? It should not be the case that you are asking for somebody's help and you have not even done the basic homework on what is their profile and what the path that they have
Right.
taken.
Right. So
So it
basically,
should
what
not be
I
that.
like,
Yeah.
right. So basically, what I wanted to know is, it's like, did you dedicate like time every day to all this process? I know it takes time. So did you dedicate, okay, every week I'm going to work on this every Sunday, or like did you do something like that? How was it?
It was usually once in a month kind of thing,
Hmm.
because it's not
Okay.
that you message someone this week and they'll respond this week itself by the weekend. That never happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it might take time for somebody to read your message and reply it
Mm-hmm.
back. Some might ignore it. Some might reply you even 1 year later. That has happened to me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So there is a considerable delay there. So
Mm-hmm.
the best day to start is yesterday. Okay, you should have done it yesterday itself. Okay, so for me at least, the thing was I dedicated like weekends for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that weekends anyway I will not be studying, so I had that
Mm-hmm.
rule. No
Okay.
weekends meaning no studying. So
Mm-hmm.
I dedicated like 2 3 hours. Again, it depends on their time slot, that the time that they're giving, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it cannot be a fixed time all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew that okay, I'll spend 1 hour at least
Right.
contacting a few people whose
Mm-hmm.
profile I'm interested in. It's not like you contact everyone. So there is some homework involved there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to get to know that okay, this person has gone there, done these courses, has done these certifications, has worked in these companies, is working now currently in this company in this role. So
Right.
it should not be like you approach someone who's working in the public sector and you ask them about the private sector.
Right,
How are
right.
things in the private
It's
sector?
similar to like, I think like we don't see it as a very big thing, but I think like a lot of us don't see it as a big thing. But it's similar to how we even prepare for like GATE or whatever it is. It's like again you are like preparing for your job, like all along. You have to do the
Yeah,
particular research and everything.
that's important, because if you see, we don't have much of a placement culture in
Mm,
the civil engineering sector, infrastructure sector. There's not much of
mhm,
a placement culture. So since there might be 2 3 core companies coming to your campus as
mhm,
opposed to 10 15 software and IT companies coming to your campus.
mhm,
So what happens there is one might look at the placement statistics and one might even completely give up on core placements, and they'll say that I'll
Right.
prepare for software based roles or IT based roles because there aren't much opportunities in the branch
Mm,
itself.
mm, mm,
But one needs to remember that the way the sector works is it rewards specialization and it rewards experience. So these
mm,
two things are respected. It's not that after 10 years of experience you will be fired one day,
mm,
and out of the blue you will be fired and you will be out of a job. So the
mm.
experience is respected, and
Experience
I
counts.
have,
It's not like, okay, first year you're going to do wonders. It's like the
yeah.
experience that
So there
counts.
are even 70, 80-year-old civil engineers still working as consultants.
Mhm.
So you can blame them if you are jobless because they are not exiting the industry and not retiring yet.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, it's a field where experience is respected. It
Mm.
just you can't be simply replaced very easily, right?
Right.
So there are some niche sectors like hydropower or
Mhm.
tunnel engineering, and
Right.
in these cases, you know the engineers who are specialized in these projects, are treated very well, and are
Yes. Right.
headhunted by HR.
That's
So
totally right. As a matter of
depends.
fact, I think tunnel engineers are very difficult to find, and that CV actually has that particular points for a tunnel engineer, and I think it's very, like, it's very valued. I think if someone is a tunnel engineer, at least right now, I think that's the scene.
Yeah, so anywhere, if you see a tunnel project, you will find a lot of international people coming in for that project
Hmm.
because finding that right talent for those projects is difficult,
Mm.
for those projects, because these are not projects which happen every year or so.
Right. Right.
So these are once in
Mm.
decades of
Mhm.
sort of projects, and finding the right talent at the right time for the right project,
Mm.
the right skill set, is very very difficult. So the
Right.
economics is in favor of the tunnel engineers. Right?
So I think we like got a lot of insight. All the best for your career, Arvind, and I hope
Yeah,
you
thank you.
come often to enlighten our users.
No, it's just sharing my experience